he is a fantastic award-winning comic book writer and creator of the sensational comic book series Bitter Root.
Yes.
And he just finished a successful Kickstarter for a true crime neo-noir comic series, The Death of Bobby Hart.
Yes.
And he is a man with a secret passion to do a Tubi podcast. He is none other than David F. Walker.
Yes.
Welcome to the mission.
Welcome,
David.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me. You know, and you only touched the tip of the iceberg, because I'm really like one of the most interesting people anyone's ever going to meet. And like, but a lot of people don't know about my love of film, right? And not just like love, like obsession. You know, I used to have a zine back in the 90s, and it hasn't been officially announced yet, but I checked, and it's like within the trade world, it's been announced. I have a book coming out next year about the history of Black film.
Nice.
And so, you know, and that's sort of how I stumbled across your show. Because I was like, yo, wait a sec. Like, yo, who are these people? And are they using Oscar Michaud's name in vain? Like, what's going on here? You know,
a good question.
That is not a name that you hear regularly as it relates to film. So I'm just honored to be here. Thank you. I really, really appreciate this.
Absolutely.
Well, we're honored to have you. And the reason why David is here is not only because he is one of our favorite comic book creators, but he also created, to me, this is the origin story of John Shaft.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
In a fantastic comic book, Shaft. And that is why he is here tonight to review from 1972, Shaft's Big Score.
Yeah.
Starring none other than Richard Roundtree and Moses Gunn.
And fan favorite Julius Lester.
Yes, that's
Don't
right.
leave Julius Lester out.
We will not. We will not.
Yeah, as we've said many times, I've always liked Shaft, but I never got I never got Shaft as Shaft outside of the blaxploitation thing. And I refer to it as a graphic novel, even though I got it. You know, A Complicated Man, I got it. And then,
I feel the same way, man. I mean, I love the movies, but all three of them, including Shaft in Africa. I don't count the John Singleton movie, and I don't count the Tim Story movie.
Okay.
And the TV show is what it is.
Yeah.
But it's at the end of the day, before we started, before we went live, I had said I've been watching a lot of Kojak. And all you have to do is watch like 4 episodes of Kojak to realize how bad Shaft was as a TV show.
Yes.
They just didn't they didn't get the character, and my love of the character actually didn't come from the movies. It came from the books. And so that was what I brought to I wrote 2 graphic novels and then a novel for them. And so I guess the people call me like the Shaft expert just because, I've written him.
Well, did you actually pitch to do the book, or did they come to you?
I pitched them. It was this was at a time when before my comic career had just gotten started, and it had gotten started kind of late in comparison to a lot of other people who work in the industry. And so I had been studying how other people made names for themselves, and one of them was they would get assigned some sort of licensed property, and they would really shine. And so I made a list of all the things I wanted to do as a writer that I wanted to prove that I was capable of doing. And then I made a list of different properties across different genres, and I was like looking at characters from Marvel and characters from DC, knowing I wasn't going to get those. Right. And then I was like, I could do something really interesting with Shaft. The book I wanted to adapt more than anything else was The Spook Who Sat by the Door.
Interesting.
And I was trying to get the rights to that, and I just couldn't make it work. And I was like, I wonder if I could get Shaft. I wonder if I could figure out how to do that. So I started investigating, and then once I figured out who had the publishing rights, then I just needed to find a comic book publisher that I could convince to pay the bill and then hire me to write it. And so that's how it all came together.
Yeah, yeah, and so I know maybe there are some stops, but talking about your Marvel work, your Power Man and Iron Fist run is, in my mind, one of the most underappreciated runs of the past 10 years. So,
yeah, no, thank you.
Big fan.
I mean, and Shaft did exactly what I wanted it to do. It shaved off about 2 years of that process that it takes to get work at Marvel and DC. It got me. It never sold that well, that particularly well, and I've been in the industry long enough to understand how and why titles like that don't sell. But it caught the attention of all the right people.
Yeah.
right.
And it helped me build a really specific type of fan base that I was like, okay, like these are the folks that are going to stick with me to a certain extent as I move to other spaces. And then, Power Man and Iron Fist was really a dream come true. That was a title that I was reading as a kid in the 70s and 80s that I really, really loved. Like, I mean, I'm old enough that I remember when Luke Cage had his own series and Iron Fist had his own series.
Right.
And when they brought them together, and I was one of those kids that was like, yo, they're together, and I this will wreck my nerd cred because I can't remember if it was issue 48 or 49 that was the first issue that combined the two. But I had that issue. I had a pretty solid run of that particular title. And so when Marvel asked me to write that, I felt like, oh man, my childhood dream is here. It's come true. And because I always had these ideas of how I wanted to write those two characters ever since I was a kid, and I was able to bring a lot of that to it. And the sad thing is that now, unless you have the Marvel app, what is it, the Marvel Unlimited, and I think you get it on still get them on Comixology, but physically, every single one of those issues, those books are out of print. The trade paperbacks are out of print, and so I just sort of you don't want to get me started on that because that'll I could go off on that. It was sad to me when the 50th anniversary of Luke Cage rolled around and there was
nobody mentioned
Nobody, that's right.
Nobody did anything. And I was like, I was reaching out to Marvel. I was like, oh, you have this entire run that, I did most of it with Sanford Green. Let's do a collection, like one of those epic collections and put it out there. But I don't know if I don't think it's me personally. I don't think anyone has a problem with me personally over at Marvel because I still do work for them from time to time. But I just think that it's not a priority for them. And I think that the fans who want to see it aren't vocal enough. I tell this to people at conventions all the time. They reach out to me online. I'm like, yo, if you want to see a collection like that, it's up to you to make it happen.
You got to make it happen. You got to be vocal about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Now speaking and I know we gotta move, but speaking of you and licensed or pre-existing characters, you are on I haven't read it yet, but it's on the pile with I'm going to reread Huckleberry Finn, and my wife just finished our copy of James, but Big Jim and the White Boy. How did that come about?
That came about. That was crazy. So I had just finished. I'd done this nonfiction book. The Black Panther Party. It was the history of the Black Panther Party. For I actually hadn't even finished the book yet. I was doing it for a publisher, 10 Speed Press, which is a division of Penguin Random House. And the editor came to me and said, we're thinking about doing retellings of classic American literature. And, we were wondering if you might be interested in doing Adventures of Huckleberry Finn from Jim's perspective. And I was like, would I? And I had years ago, I had started a book, a novel, and it was just called Nigger Jim. And it was like, and this was before Django Unchained came out. And it was a retelling of Adventures of Huckleberry Finn from Jim's point of view, but it was a straight up blaxploitation, like he was a crazed killer, like he had rabies, that sort of thing.
So it wasn't James.
It wasn't James at all.
James.
but it had kind of stalled out, and it was just sort of sitting around collecting dust. But when my editor mentioned this possibility to me, and I had never thought about doing it as a graphic novel, I was like, yeah, I could do that without even really thinking about what the book itself was going to be like. Um, and then it just sort of grew from there.
Hmm.
And Marcus Kwame Anderson, who was my collaborator on Black Panther Party, we got him on board, and he was still drawing the Black Panther Party at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So all of this sort of dragged out the production process and the release schedule. But yeah, no, I at this point, I've said this before, I've said this publicly, like if I was smarter and had more savvy, that would have been my retirement book. That would have been the book that I said, I'm done with graphic novels and comics because I'm never going to be able to do better than
Right.
that thing. So
Right.
And thus, that's why we have the death of Bobby Hart,
Death of Bobby Hart.
which is
well,
the new
yeah,
book.
no, and the death of Bobby Hart was also an old project that, you get involved in the industry and like people want to work with you, but they only want to work with you like on certain terms.
Yeah, yeah, their terms.
And the death of Bobby Hart was something that nobody was interested in doing, for a whole host of reasons, not the least of which was it wasn't it was never meant to be like a 200-page graphic novel or a like a 6-issue miniseries or anything like that. And that's all publishers wanted. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
well, you're not going to pay me enough to write that. And we're never going to be able to find an artist, and the story's not going to work. It's going to be padded out. Like this is meant to be the length that it is. And so I just decided at one point, I was like, I have a choice. Either I don't do this book or I either do this book in a way that I feel isn't right for a publisher that isn't listening to what I think will
Right.
work best,
Hmm.
or I'll do it myself. I may have done it the wrong way. I don't know. We'll find out because I literally just shipped the last of the Kickstarter rewards yesterday afternoon. It was like nearly 100 degrees out, and I lugged all these, packages to the post office and
Right. Right.
was like, what was I thinking? I'm like, I ain't got nobody to help me carry this stuff to the post office. So, um, the things we do for our art.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what? But that is you not only taking a betting on yourself, but that's also you recognizing that throughout all of your projects, regardless of how well received you feel they've been, how much they have sold. Some are out of print because, sons of bitches do it like that. You know what I'm saying? But you still have an audience, and that audience appreciates you, so that when you put out the alert saying like, hey, I've got this project that I'm working on, people, they chunk down. You were looking for X amount of money on Kickstarter. You got almost 4 times that amount. That
Yep.
means people, they feeling you, bruh.
Yeah, and the thing is what a lot of people don't get is, they're trying to get trying to land a deal. It could be Marvel, it could be DC, it could be Image, it could be any publisher out there. What a lot of people don't understand is like you may get that deal,
Yeah,
but if your book doesn't sell well, they're going to use that against you,
that's
right?
right.
I know you guys have talked about the Wiz in the past, and
Oh
what a
boy,
lot of
yes,
people,
we have.
what so many people don't get is that the Wiz was, it was a financial bomb as far as Hollywood was concerned, and they use that. Hollywood used that as an excuse to not make black movies for over 10 years.
Yep.
Like
Yeah.
like everything that we saw that came out in the 80s and into the early 90s was almost a miracle that it got made because every studio was like, well, the Wiz didn't make money. And so
Right.
we can't invest a lot of money into, and it was like, and comics aren't that different. I mean, this is a capitalist society and it's all about the money, but I didn't want anyone holding that over me. I didn't want a company like Dark Horse, oh, we took a chance on you and it didn't sell well, so
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
not gonna, and it's like, well, why didn't it sell well? Did it not sell well because it sucks? Or did it not sell well because your marketing department didn't know what to do with it? And most retailers in the US are busy stockpiling Batman and X-Men
Right.
and don't want to spend that money. So sometimes you just got to take a chance on yourself. And I happen to be in a position where I had the money to pay the artist up front. So all I had to worry about was once it was done, raising the money to pay for the printing and to reimburse myself. And I didn't factor reimbursing myself into the Kickstarter. I was like, that money will come in time. Right now, I just want to print it, ship it, get it out there. So
there you go. The Death of Bobby Hart, inspired by a true story, is a neo-noir crime thriller about the murder of pulp writer Bobby Hart, the undisputed king of the 70s street literature books, such as Pimp Wars and Confessions of a Junkie. The cover available on Kickstarter by Cannon White is like gorgeous. It is ridiculous, man. This is going to be a 68-page, all-new original graphic novella.
That's right.
Drawn by Dietrich Smith, with spot illustrations by other artists. Really looking forward to when that comes out.
Yeah, absolutely.
I kind of teased it at the beginning that, David, you have this secret dream to do a podcast where you are reviewing all of the Black films on Tubi.
Yeah. It's more of a delusional, like, whatever. But yeah, no. And I had suggested this to my friends a while back, and none of them wanted to go down that path with me. And it was right around then that I discovered your show, and I was like, oh, okay, I don't have to do it. You know, I still will watch some stuff on Tubi. I call it video rodeo, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like, how long can you stay on this bucking bronco? You know?
Right, exactly.
That's true. I got a few friends that are. Well, you're a big Tubi head now.
I think there's gold on Tubi though.
There is. There really is some gold.
So,
and when it comes to Black film,
exactly,
there's some really fascinating stuff on there. You know, it seems like there's no curation, so there's nobody.
No, you have to do that on your own.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where, well, this is my rule. If I haven't heard of the movie, and this is the arrogance, this is my ego talking, right? If I haven't heard of the movie, there's something wrong with the movie, and I probably don't need to watch it.
There you go. I like it.
It's if Jean-Claude Lamar is involved with it, like, I need to watch this movie.
You know, I want to see how, if I applied David's rule to me, how that would hold up. If I haven't heard of this.
If I haven't heard of it, how good could it possibly be?
There's some stuff on there that I've watched that you probably never have heard of. And because a lot of the stuff is stuff that was direct to video or cable in the 90s that, like, Tubi to me was discovering gold, or fool's gold, I should say, because there was movies I couldn't remember the title of. And I was like, I remember there was one in particular where I called all my friends. I was like, yo, you remember that movie that it was like the dude, it was like Die Hard in a mall, but it wasn't really a mall. It was like a swap meet. And the dude was like kind of out of shape. And everyone was like, no, never heard of that movie. And I thought I imagined it.
Right.
And so what I did was I went on to Tubi. I went into, they got the Black film section, and I just went title by title till I found it. And I was having to read descriptions because I couldn't remember the title of the movie. And they have it. I haven't watched it again yet because I don't hate myself that much.
Good. That's good. Gotta love yourself.
But it's a movie called Hostile Takedown. And
of course.
And it's like the early 2000s, and it's it ain't good. It's not as good as Dead Heist, which, if you haven't watched that one yet, that's the one to watch.
I've never heard of these films, so they must be something wrong with it.
Right. I'm just going to ask, is Billy Blanks involved in any of these
thinking about
films?
Billy Blanks.
No. Billy Blanks is two great movies, and both of those were with Roddy Piper. I love both of the movies he did with Roddy Piper. One was called Tough and Deadly.
Sure.
Of course it was.
Was he tough or was he deadly?
I don't even remember, man.
Okay.
I don't even remember. But the one Dead Heist is like, you know why you guys got to watch Dead Heist? Because it's like the poor man's Sinners from 20 years ago, right? And it co-stars Big Daddy Kane.
You should have led with that.
Oh my God.
And
Yo, you trying to
that's
get in
one
here?
where it's best to watch it when you're either sleep deprived or under the influence of something.
Okay.
Oh my God.
Well, you sold it to me.
You sold Dead Heist.
Yeah, Dead Heist.
Dead Heist with Big Daddy Kane.
Yeah.
The
Big
smooth
Daddy Kane,
operator.
E40 makes an appearance.
E4. Oh my God.
Yeah. But since I just said it's like a poor man's Sinners, it lets you know what I'm saying. You know what's in there, and you know what it's about, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
my
Okay.
God.
All right.
Big Daddy Kane, E40, Dead Heist. All right. We're going to check that out. But now we are going to review Shaft's big score.